I'm on a Godzilla kick right now, so I'm going to talk about this movie. Not gonna lie, this is one of the most unique yet entertaining Godzilla movies ever made. It's basically a Godzilla film crossed with a wuxia film. So where in a normal Godzilla movie, you would get scenes of monsters fighting mixed with scenes of people talking, this movie has scenes of monsters fighting mixed with scenes of people doing crazy kung fu action. It's amazing! I mean, it's at least better than the AMV bait that was the anime trilogy.
Always the kingdom's under control.
I've seen Final Wars about 100 times at this point. I still don't know the main character's name. From now on, I'm just gonna call him Neo from the Matrix. You'll see why in a bit. So the film starts out with a battle in Antarctica between the Big G and the military's flying battleship thing, the Gotengo. Their battle causes a fissure to open up in the ice, and with a well-placed torpedo shot, Godzilla becomes trapped in the ice. Cue an exposition dump of a title sequence setting up the world. Basically, ever since Godzilla's first appearance in 1954, kaijus have been a regular thing. In response, the M organization was created to protect the world. Unrelated to this, but happening at the same time, people with superhuman abilities begin to appear all around the world. And by superhuman abilities, I mean they can do wire stunts. Before we even have time to process this, we get a scene of the Gotengo locked in battle with the monster Manda. This scene only serves to introduce Captain Gordon, who is the most badass character in all of fiction ever.
Captain Gordon?
Oh, shit.
You almost lost the ship back there. This time you won't be able to escape court-martial.
You know what we just went through? I'll undergo your court-martial or anything else you have. So just keep your mouth shut.
She breathes! She's a Thor!
Thrust into another action scene, we watch as two of the aforementioned mutants are in the heat of battle. It's revealed to be a training session between Neo from the Matrix and the edgy rival character. Neo's CO breaks up the fight before edgy rival character takes it too far. Then edgy rival character grills Neo for not killing him during the sparring practice? Like, okay, I guess this movie considers not killing people during practice a heroic action, because that's what they sure set it up to be. Anyway, Neo from the Matrix and his Nazi armband get assigned to bodyguard a biologist from the UN, who was sent here to investigate the recently discovered mummified cyborg monster Gigan. They also make a point of how hot the biologist is.
Always the kingdom's under control.
Once they get to the site, we are immediately bombarded with more information, as the biologist learns that M-base has been found in Gigan's DNA, the same compound that gives mutants their abilities. Immediately following this, Neo from the Matrix, the UN biologist, and some other scientist who's just here, I guess, get teleported to Infant Island, so the can exposit some more shit at us. Basically, Gigan showed up 12,000 years ago, Mothra beat it, and now the mutants harbor this same evil power, except they have the choice to be good or evil, yada yada. Here's a talisman we're not going to mention till the end of the movie. The screenwriters then remember that this is supposed to be a Godzilla movie, and monsters begin appearing in major cities all around the world. Anguirus in Shanghai, King Caesar in Okinawa, Kamacuras in Paris, and Rodan in... Oh yeah, this thing also appears in Sydney, but we'll talk about him later. We also get treated to a scene where Neo from the Matrix, edgy rival character, and some other mutants take down Ebra at an industrial plant. This scene serves no other purpose than giving us some more action.
Always the kingdom's under control.
Just as fast as the monsters appeared, they disappear. But what gives? Oh, nothing. It's just a giant alien spaceship over the M Organization HQ! The new aliens, with the backing of the newly elected UN minister, who I forgot to mention, introduce themselves as Exilians. They say they come only to warn humanity of a rogue planet that's on a crash course with Earth. They even claim to have eliminated the monsters as a sign of peace.
So that was a fucking lie.
While the Exilians are busy rock-starring around, propagandized by the UN minister, UN biologist and her journalist sister, who I forgot to mention, are busy uncovering the truth behind the Exilian presence on Earth. Turns out they're actually body-snatching important political figures, faking the rogue planet with a hologram, and were in control of the monsters the whole time. Needing backup to take on this growing threat, Neo from the Matrix recruits the only man who could take on such a challenge. Captain Motherfucking Gordon!
Captain Gordon.
Okay, so now is a good time to talk about just how badass Captain Gordon is. Portrayed by pro UFC fighter Don Fry, Captain Gordon is so badass, he speaks English in a Japanese film. Like, yeah, if you saw this movie when it came out, he would have been subtitled. He's so badass, he makes the Japanese translate him. With him and the rest of the mutants on board, our crew begins to hatch their master plan. Journalist Sister has an interview with the UN minister, the Exilian leader, and his second-in-command, X.
X. That's right.
Journalist fucking pranks the minister by bringing his dog on stage. He's unable to remember his own dog's name, and after some awkward hims and haws, she reveals that this was actually her dog the whole time. Meanwhile, UN biologist is at a computer for an unexplained reason when she is confronted by two body-snatched Exilians. Luckily, she's saved by the rest of the crew who kill the aliens, and Neo from the Matrix gets shot in the process. I don't know why I mentioned that, because it's never brought up again. Back at the interview, Gordon shows up with a little present for the Exilians. Seizing the opportunity, X launches a mutiny and takes command of the Exilian army. With far more malicious intent, X's plan for invasion has a lot less body snatching and a lot more giant monsters. He leaves our protagonists to be killed by the now mind-controlled mutants, cause he can do that apparently. To keep the movie from ending right here, Neo's CO from earlier sacrifices himself so the others can escape. He even gives one of those quirky smirks on the way out. One badass motorcycle fight scene later, and the surviving humans arrive at Gotengo's underground launch bay, an unconscious, edgy rival character in tow. Finally, outnumbered and outmonstered, Captain Gordon reveals his plan to take down the Exilians, and finally gives this movie a straightforward plot.
Captain, are you telling me that you intend going back down there through enemy lines, wake up Godzilla, then bring him right back here, get him to fight all the other monsters, and then somehow, I don't know with what weapons, destroy the Exilian invasion force?
Yes.
Our hero's trip to Antarctica is enough to prompt X to awaken Gigan in order to intercept the Gotengo.
Gigan! Right!
Arriving in Area G just in time, the crew manages to awaken the King of the Monsters, and the first real monster fight of this movie ensues. It's obviously one-sided, as the Big G puts the cyborg down with a well-placed shot of atomic breath. Now, with Godzilla hot on their tail, the crew of the Gotengo begin their 1,000-mile journey to bring the God of Destruction to the Exilians' doorstep. X isn't about to give up that easy though, and sends monster after monster to try and stop the approaching doom. Okay, so you know how I said I was going to talk about this guy later?
It's a later.
So back in 1990-something, Sony acquired the rights to make an American Godzilla movie and assigned TriStar to the project. Some dumbass over at TriStar thought it would be a good idea to hand the project over to Roland Emmerich, a man who was quoted in interviews as saying he didn't want to make a Godzilla movie. The result was this trashy excuse for a film. Toho hated this movie so much that they bought back the rights to the character, officially rebranded it as Zilla, and did this to him. Fuck yeah!
I knew that tuna head wasn't up to much. Next.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Manila is in this movie. Honestly, I wish he wasn't because he sucks so much. I know the hardcore Manila fans out there are gonna be mad at me, but he's just so...
What are you doing, huh?
Finally, the crew make it back to the mothership and launch an attack to get inside. Edgy rival character sacrifices himself and Independence stays the barrier shield away. But just before Neo from the Matrix can land the final blow, the Exilians teleport on board and take the crew hostage. Now, X tells them his evil plan. Apparently, the Exilians need the mitochondria in human cells to survive. So X plans on destroying most of the world as a big flex and then taking the survivors to be used as livestock. X also has the ability to mind control anything that contains M-base, which includes all of the monsters except Godzilla and all mutants.
You follow me, camera guy?
This raises the obvious question of why Neo from the Matrix was unaffected. Hey, we have like 20 minutes left to this movie. You know what's a great idea? Introducing a completely new concept that we have to explain. So apparently, both X and Neo from the Matrix are something called Kaisers, which are all-powerful beings that can master the entire universe or something. Just when this starts to get a little too stupid, X summons his most powerful monster to try and stop Godzilla. Monster X. At the same time, the who I forgot were even in this movie, summon Mothra to assist Godzilla. To make it an even fight, X brings out the rebuilt Gigan, now with Evil Dead hands. So while that fight is happening, X zaps Neo, making him turn evil. Then, the UN biologist stabs him with the talisman that I bet you forgot about, and makes him become good again. But now Neo from the Matrix is actually Neo from the Matrix. Neo and X then have a fancy super fight while the bad set design rears its head. The people who got body snatched earlier show up out of nowhere to help the other humans escape, and Captain Gordon beats up a couple of Exilians on his way out. Like, he's not a mutant, by the way. This is just a normal dude kicking the shit out of two superpowered aliens.
You'd hit a woman.
Yeah.
Also, Mothra and Gigan end up killing each other. A monitor on board the spaceship beats us over the head with the fact that X and Neo's fight parallels with Monster X and Godzilla's fight. Neo from the Matrix uses his Neo from the Matrix powers to win, and since X is a sore loser, he self-destructs the ship. Luckily, everyone makes it out in time. For whatever reason, they also make a big deal out of the UN biologist needing to back up the ship, because the other guy got shot in the arm. Like, pulling the yoke back is a big struggle for her for whatever reason. I mean, hey, if you've ever seen a woman park, you know they can't reverse for shit. Just when you thought we were fucking done, Monster X decides to turn into the best part of this movie. Oh yes, Daddy! The most handsome kaiju in town hands Godzilla his ass and begins to suck the life force out of him. Neo from the Matrix, realizing this movie will never fucking end if he doesn't do something, uses his Neo from the Matrix powers to supercharge the Gotengo's weapons and revitalize Godzilla, allowing him to win and ruining my chances of getting Ghidorah's number. Godzilla shoots down the Gotengo, Manila shows up, and they walk into the ocean peacefully, making a new beginning for mankind. The end.
The kingdom's under control.
This movie is pretty fucking good. I'm well aware that my feverish ramblings don't do this film justice, but just trust me when I say that you need to see this film to really get it. Juggling so many elements and side plots can make it feel like your head's spinning at sometimes, but the film's amazing pacing and great editing keeps the flow understandable, and you never feel like you're lost at any point. The kung fu elements lend this movie some extra excitement that most movies don't have, and the wackiness spills over into some of the monster fights too. It would be really easy to ruin a movie like this by having it take itself too seriously. But never at any point did the filmmakers try and pretend that this is Oscar material. It's a dumb monster movie, and we all know it. If you're looking to get into Godzilla but are too scared that the older films might be too slow and boring for you, this is a great place to start, just to get a feeler. Hell, it was my first Godzilla movie, why not yours? I hope you all enjoyed this video. And let me know if I should do more. I greatly appreciate you sitting through me talking about Godzilla. Again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Eye to eyes 言葉いらない